I actually walked into the hospital in 1979 as a third-year UConn medical student. And I've been here practically ever since. In 2008, I said, I've had enough. I'm burned out. I got to do something different. And then one day, a brochure came across my desk as I was trying to figure out what to do next. And at the top of the brochure, it said, "The Air Force needs doctors." When you're called to the priesthood, you go. Well, I think I was called to the Air Force, and I went.
My daughter, Katie, she was a risk taker. She was a good kid. She tried to help everybody. Her personality was huge. Katie has a daughter, Allie. Allie's 3. And that was the love of Katie's life.
When she joined the Army, you could see that she got a purpose. There was a mission in her life. She became a new person.
She became very independent. She became very responsible. It was a good fit for Katie.
I was deployed to Iraq to do combat trauma ICU, and nothing to do with cardiology, but I was called upon to do a lot of stuff that I had never done, a lot of stuff that I hadn't done in 20, 30 years, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I spent 186 days doing that. And it was the medicine of my life.
Any event that causes trauma of any sort, physical and psychological, has the distinct possibility to leave a mark on you and become a post-traumatic stress condition for you.
Katie had been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. She was diagnosed that through the Veterans Administration because she was an Iraq veteran.
All I knew about it at the time was what I saw in the snippets on the news at nighttime about returning veterans and post-traumatic stress. I knew very little about it.
She also came back with some wounds, some physical wounds, and she had legitimate pain.
When I looked at Katie upon her return and looked in her eyes, she looked different. Something was different.
When it was time to come home, I literally walked off the plane at BWI and felt like I was on the moon. I was disconnected. I was outside myself. One day I literally woke up. I had no interest in life. I had no interest in getting out of bed. I looked at my wife and I woke up that morning at the 13th of December. I looked at her and I said, "I'm sick. I have no idea what's going on." They said, "Bring me to the hospital."
Post-traumatic stress comes in all forms, so it's not just veterans coming back from war. It's also individuals who might have been in an auto accident, somebody who has had some type of abuse.
It's a human reaction to something bad that happened or was about to happen, and it's how that person reacted, and that's very normal.
Our stress is built and built and built over our entire careers, and there is a very high turnover rate in EMS, and a lot of times it does stem from the stresses and traumas that we work with and see every day.
One of the problems that we have with post-traumatic stress is the way it gets labeled in society.
Veterans, are afraid to come out and say, "I feel this. I feel this way. Can someone help me?" Because as soon as you say, "I feel I have PTSD," everyone thinks you're a madman. You're gonna go crazy.
The stigma, though, is when asking for help, are your coworkers going to trust you on the next bad call? Are they going to feel that you're able to still do the job? So a lot of people don't seek help. The data that you can find in the United States is about 1 EMS provider every 2.5 days committing suicide.
I was in an intensive counseling outpatient program for a month and a half. And so we picked apart why it was that I was in the United States and my soul and my heart was in Balad, Iraq.
PTSD itself doesn't exist in a cocoon. Many patients with PTSD also suffer from anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, and substance abuse disorders.
My experience with Katie is that when it was an emotionally difficult time for her, her physical pains kind of showed themselves a little bit more. And that's when she would rely more on medications to take care of that pain.
In this particular case, the patient came to me, Katie, with a significant amount of pain in her foot after an injury. It became clear soon after that there was a strong anxiety component as part of her pain. And I've come to know over the years that if you don't treat the anxiety and/or depression that's associated with this, you're really never going to get a good handle treating the pain.
Look at your child from a holistic perspective and don't underestimate how important it is to recognize post-traumatic stress and the impact that has on the physical conditions. And I would say as an industry, we need to pull it all together so that no other parent has to go through what we had to endure.
You can't do it alone. You try to do it alone, you'll crash and burn. There is no possible way that you can battle this post-traumatic stress stuff by yourself.
Recovery is possible with everyone. It's just finding the right fit and working at it. It doesn't mean they'll forget it, but they'll be able to move on better.
Today I feel complete. There was years where I didn't feel complete, and to this day, I still see a therapist. It never goes away. But you shouldn't have it dictate your life. You control it. You need to control it. And I had to learn that.
As I worked my way through trying to figure out why I was different, I realized that I was not alone, and I suddenly became not in charge of me anymore, but I was along for the ride. And that gave me peace. I was working for the VA after I got out of the Air Force, and Andrea delivered my grandson here at St. Francis. And I walked into St. Francis for the first time in a long time, and I looked around, and I got into an elevator, and there was a sign in the elevator that said something to the effect of, "This is where your heart belongs." It was time to come back. There was work to be done. There's still work to be done. So here I am.